Have you ever found yourself completely drawn to someone you just know is trouble? Maybe you're chasing after someone who's distant and aloof while totally ignoring the person who's right there, ready to care for you. It's a really frustrating pattern. And in this explainer, we're going to get into the science of why our hearts do this. It's a super common and, let's be honest, often painful experience. So today, we're going to unpack the surprising psychology behind this powerful and sometimes self-destructive pattern of attraction. To really get a handle on this, let's start with a classic story. This is about Samar from her university days, when she found herself stuck between two very, very different people. So on one side, you have Yasser. He's kind, he's thoughtful, he always shows up. He's the kind of person you'd call a perfect choice, a total green flag. And on the other side, there's Allah. He's arrogant, distant, barely ever available, a walking red flag if you've ever seen one. So who did Samar choose? Allah, of course. A simple, rare message from him felt like the most exciting thing in the world, while Yasser's consistent kindness got the classic, "You're like a brother to me." So what on earth is going on here? Okay, so here's our first big clue. The most crucial thing to understand is how our brain is wired. It's not necessarily designed for happiness. It's designed for survival, and a huge part of survival means sticking to what it already knows. And this is a really fundamental survival mechanism. Our brain basically creates this emotional muscle memory, and it just gravitates toward patterns it recognizes. The huge problem is, it does this even if those patterns are unhealthy, which is exactly what was happening to Samar. You know, for so many of us, our earliest experiences with love set the template for the rest of our lives. If affection was conditional, I'll love you if you get good grades, or if our caregivers were just unpredictable, our nervous system literally learns to define love as this mix of anxiety, waiting, and uncertainty. And this brings us right back to Samar's choice. A healthy, predictable partner like Yasser just doesn't trigger that old, familiar feeling. His stability feels, well, boring. But the emotional roller coaster with Allah, that feels intense. It feels familiar. And her brain completely mislabels all that chaos as love. So our brain is wired for the familiar. Got it. But what's happening on a chemical level? Well, it turns out this isn't just psychology. It's also biochemistry. Just look at the chemical difference here. Unpredictable, toxic relationships trigger a flood of dopamine, adrenaline, and the stress hormone cortisol. That whole cocktail creates a feeling of intense, anxious anticipation. And you know what? It's highly addictive. Now, on the flip side, stable, healthy relationships are dominated by oxytocin and serotonin. These are the hormones that make us feel calm, connected, and secure. We're talking about two completely different chemical experiences. And this right here is the key misunderstanding. We mistake that neurological jolt, those butterflies that we think are a sign of deep passion, for real love. But it's not. It's often just a warning sign from our body. It's a more intense state of chemical excitement and anxiety happening in our brain. Okay, so we have the familiar brain and the addictive chemical cocktail. But there's one core mechanism that truly locks this pattern in place. And believe me, it is incredibly powerful. It's called intermittent reinforcement. It's a fancy term, but the idea is simple. An unpredictable reward is far more addictive than a predictable one. This is the exact same principle that makes slot machines and gambling so compulsively addictive. You just never know when you're going to get that reward, so you just keep pulling the lever. That emotionally unavailable person acts like a human slot machine. Just like Samar, waiting for that one random text from Allah. They give you attention randomly, a sudden message after days of silence, a rare compliment. This inconsistency doesn't push you away. It actually pulls you in deeper, making you crave that reward with an obsessive focus. A classic lab experiment shows just how powerful this is. So at first, a rat gets a piece of food every time it presses a button. It learns the rule pretty quick. But then, the scientists make the reward random. And the result? The rat doesn't give up. It starts pressing the button obsessively, way more than it ever did before. That uncertainty drives the compulsion. So the unavailable person becomes the button, and we get conditioned to keep pressing, texting, calling, hoping for that tiny, occasional pellet of affection. Over time, this isn't romantic or passionate. It's a long-term neurological drain that leads directly to anxiety and a nosedive in your self-esteem. So we understand the trap. But here's the good news. We are not stuck. It is absolutely possible to reprogram our brains to seek out genuine, secure love. So let's talk about how to do that. The very first step is just learning to tell the difference. Obsessive attachment feels like a storm. It's loud. It's full of anxiety, fear, and these dizzying highs and lows. It completely consumes you. But secure love? It's quiet. It feels like peace. It feels like safety. It doesn't consume your life. It supports it. So instead of chasing the roller coaster, we can learn to value the bedrock of a healthy connection. And it's built on three simple but powerful things. Predictability, where you have a good sense of how they'll act. Reliability, knowing they'll be there when it really counts. And trust, where you feel fundamentally safe. These are the real building blocks of security. So after breaking down the neurology, the psychology, and all these behavior patterns, what is the one crucial lesson we should take away from this entire explainer? It's this. You have to learn to recognize that what exhausts you is not true love, and what reassures you is not a lack of feeling. In fact, that sense of calm and safety isn't boredom at all. It's the very foundation of something real, something sustainable, and something truly worthy of your heart.